Darrell Brooks is a career criminal and general all-around loser who got mad at his girlfriend. To get even, he decided to go on a homicidal rampage by killing her. No, he decided to drive his car through a parade of unsuspecting townsfolk. He killed 6, including a young boy, and injured dozens more. Some will never be the same again. Darrell decided to represent himself in court. What followed was a tangle of sovereign citizen strategies and misapplied techniques gleaned from Perry Mason. In this series of videos, I highlight some of his dumber moments. Believe me, this is going to be a long series. This particular episode is especially moronic. Here, Darrell is going to cross-examine a medical examiner to see if his victims may have had underlying illnesses. That's right, it wasn't my SUV smashing their skulls into the pavement that killed them. It was heart disease. Buckle up. This is going to get weird. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With cold, blunt analysis cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's time for the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
Okay, Darrell, show us what you've got.
Any questions for this witness?
Oh yeah, he's got questions all right. Hey, get ready for these.
I do. Your primary field is in the medical field. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah, Darrell, she's the medical examiner. I would think that the medical examiner is probably working in the medical field.
Any reason why you would be inspecting a car if that's not a medical professional thing?
The examination of anything that's related to injuries in the people that I later examine is relevant in my specialty of forensic pathology.
So examining the vehicle would be important to your medical assessments in what way?
Because the injuries that people sustain, whether it's a vehicle in this case or anything else, it's important to correspond the nature of the implement being the car.
Examining the vehicle would be essential to your medical expertise. Is that fair to say?
Darrell, remember all the fuss you made when the judge arranged for the jury to view the vehicle? You claimed you didn't know why they even needed to see it.
Examining the vehicle is important to interpret the injuries. I'm not sure that, I don't know if that's the answer to your question.
He doesn't know. He doesn't even remember what he asked.
So if you were doing an injury assessment based on if the injury was caused by a different kind of instrument, would the same apply to having to view that?
Darrell, video shows an SUV running over people. They were horribly maimed in the process, introducing the idea that perhaps they died of knife wounds or explosives won't work here. You've been watching too much Perry Mason.
I can't make matches, like precise matches, but I can say it looks like a baseball bat or it looks like a pair of scissors, that kind of thing.
It would be fair to say if in a case of a gunshot wound, as you brought up.
That's right. You brought up the gunshot wound. Therefore, we have to entertain the possibility that these people were actually shot. I mean, it's not my idea. You brought it up.
It wouldn't be. It would. Let me back up. It would. Would you say it would be hard to assess the gun, being that it wouldn't be the actual gun, but the bullets that caused the injury?
Wow, Darrell, wow. You really got her there. That's some amazing insight. She tried to sneak the idea in that the gun and not the bullet caused the wounds. But you were too clever for her. I mean, you got to get up pretty early in the morning to get one past old Quincy M.E. here. Yes, Darrell, by examining gunshot wounds, you are really trying to identify the bullet that caused it. But get this, if you know which bullet caused it, that sometimes tells you something about the gun that caused it. And who cares? Dude, no one was shot. You're just wasting everyone's time with this questioning. It's almost as if this is a stall tactic.
Well, actually, I don't examine the bullets, but I would examine the gun, especially, for example, if it's a contact wound. So if the muzzle of the gun touches the skin, then the muzzle could leave a mark. So then I could say the muzzle of the gun shown to me might match the mark.
I appreciate your explanation, but you could have simply said, "No, Sherlock," and everyone would have understood.
And if it was something similar to that, the muzzle type thing, the mark would be from the heat. Would that be fair to say?
Shut up about the gun. No one was shot. No one cares about muzzle and gunpowder marks because none of the victims had them.
No, not actually. It's actually from the contact of the metal. So it's more of an abrasion than a burn.
So in a case like in a case like that, what would be the significance of the actual inspection of the gun?
I'm going to object to this line of question. I think it's a little bit of field of where we're at.
Grounds.
Darrell, she just told you the grounds. Very politely, in fact. She could have said, "I object. These questions are just dumb and stupid."
Overruled. She may answer. She brought it up as an example. I'll allow a little bit of leeway, but go ahead.
No, Judge Darrow, no. End this nightmare questioning now before we all come out stupid.
Could you repeat your question?
What would be the significance in a case like that, as you stated? You view all types of instruments, gunshot wounds and things of that nature. What would be the significance of inspecting the actual gun in terms of the injury?
Well, I may be able to say that the mark on the skin, for example, is consistent with the outline of the muzzle of that particular weapon, looking at the dimensions and shape.
Unless someone has tried to stab their victim with the gun barrel with the force of a prize fighter, this sounds like a load of horse manure. I can take my .38, rub its barrel all over my head and face, and there's no chance in hell that it's going to leave any marks that, hours later, you're going to be able to trace the make and model of the gun. And if you disagree, we'll conduct a double-blind study and see who's right. This cross-examination has been brutal, and I don't mean the attorney really has him over a barrel kind of brutal. Get ready. It's going to get even dumber now.
Do you know if at the time you did the autopsies, if any of the victims you performed the autopsy on had any underlying illnesses at that time, any cancers or anything like that that may have been going on at the time that you did the autopsy?
No, Darrell, no. Don't go there. This isn't a case where someone might have died from a drug overdose while being detained by the cops. You ran these people over in your car. You crushed vertebrae. You ruptured arteries. You fractured skulls. Claim that it wasn't you. Claim that you couldn't control the car. But for the love of God, don't try to get out of this by finding some other cause of death. Anything but this.
Yes, I would make observations of any natural disease processes that I saw at the time of autopsy.
Did you observe any?
Yes.
Do you recall from who that was?
Well, Mr. Hospital, he was an older gentleman. He had some heart disease.
Heart disease? Oh, well, he was as good as dead. It's hard to imagine the immense suffering this poor man must have been going through, having to watch his diet and exercising. He's in a better place now, thanks to Darrell.
As I recall, a pacemaker. some coronary artery disease. Ms. Kulik, as I recall, had a large fibroid.
Oh heavens, an enlarged thyroid. It's hard to imagine the immense suffering this poor woman must have been going through, having to take 120 milligrams of levothyroxine every morning. Thank God we had an angel of mercy like good old Darrell to take the terminally ill off life support.
That's what I remember. I could look and clarify my memory further, but those are examples.
Can you explain to the jury what is a large thyroid? Is that the word you thyroid?
Fibroid.
I'm sorry.
Yes. It's
Fibroid.
I learned the new word today.
a benign uterine tumor.
Is that a form of cancer?
No.
And you said the older gentleman had some fluid buildup in the chest. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to misquote you. Some type of fluid around the chest area.
Correct.
And from your recollection, that wasn't caused by the vehicle?
Darrell is brilliant. Do you see how he cleverly uncovered an ailment that could explain his death? This is the best strategy that Darrell has conceived so far. He's got her now. Can you imagine the embarrassment she is now going to suffer at the hands of Clarence Darrow here, as he forces her to dismantle her own testimony? Darrell now has hope. He sees the light at the end of the tunnel.
That was.
Oh well, it was a nice try. Not really.
He entered the hospital actually with no evidence of that fluid, but it's lymphatic fluid from the thoracic duct, from a thoracic duct injury.
And you said he had a pacemaker. Would that have any effect whatsoever on what might have been going on in his chest at the time?
Darrell fires back with what will be called the pacemaker strategy in future law classes all over the country.
No.
Future law classes will begin lectures with the pacemaker strategy. It really sucks.
And because he was in the hospital, the function of that pacemaker was well documented while he was being monitored.
Was it pretty active, still working properly at that time?
It was.
Even with the loss of blood, as you say, he had a loss of blood. Even then, was it still working pretty good?
I can't. I just can't. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.